everyone, this is Akata Vesta. Thank you for joining us once again. Today we have a dear sister from Galactic Astrology. Her name is Tee Ming Ooi, and she is a very talented astrologer. She is a life coach, and she is also a shamanic journaler, and she does also card reading. And today we are going to embark into the mythology of Greek and Roman in terms of astrology. That is a topic that is dear to my heart. So let's begin. Hello, Tin Ming. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Akasta, for inviting me to your space, your sacred space.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Anyway, yes, this is a space that so far I have done like 7 or 8 episode, and every time with every single one of you, it's just a new experience. The topic is so various and it's very interesting. Yeah, so today, okay, before we begin, would you like to add a little bit introduction of yourself into your bio, what you do?
I guess I've always been interested in connection to all of life and even beyond life. So actually, I also studied mediumship and I practice mediumship and channeling as well. So, and right now I'm also fine-tuning, I guess, skills of communicating with animals and just I guess just trying to fine-tune communications with fellow humans as well, because that's really important, isn't it? How to get along with our fellow humans.
Well, tell me about it. I have been living like a hermit for the last 30 years. And now with Galactic Astrology and with my clients, I started to communicate with a little bit more people, human. And so as if a newborn baby, finding a new way in communication. And also like we change how we express as well in the spiritual community. A little bit different to our quote unquote 3D world or matrix or whatever, our normal life actually, right?
I think we just different people brings out different parts of us too. So it's like putting two star charts together, your star chart and mine, where are the points that touch each other, and then that will just set off a different energy of interaction, right? Like that's what astrology tells us, like when you put two charts together, what can happen? When you put the midpoints of the charts together, you create a third chart, right? The composite chart, right? And that tells you like, the energy of your relationship and how, you can make different types of like, I guess, forecasts or maybe, stories about how to relate to each other.
Yes, yes, yes. And so today we are going to talk about mythology. Like, I recently with my clients, apart from all the planet, inner and outer planets that is in a normal natal chart, I started really to study a little bit in depth with asteroids, and all these are each asteroid have their the Greek mythology story behind it, and I find it actually explain and express in a human's emotional aspect. How do you find the connection there?
Yeah, I think, okay, so for Western astrologers, right, usually we start with like just the basic planets, the luminaries, the sun, the moon, our personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and beyond Saturn, the outer planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, we have younger astrologers, or well, this happened when we, found like the asteroids and other central planets like Chiron, or asteroids like the asteroid goddesses. They call it the goddesses because they're named after goddesses like Vesta, Ceres, Juno, Pallas Athena, right? And then there are also other asteroids named after different deities in different cultures, right? Like Egyptian ones, like Isis and Osiris, I think there is like Hathor also, right? And from the Inuit culture, as you said, Sedna, I think we spoke about this before the camera roll.
Yes, yes,
Sedna
that
from the
I
Inuit
am
culture, right?
obsessed with
Right.
Setna. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And the myth of Lilith, I think it comes from the Abrahamic Jewish stories, right? Of Lilith, the first wife of Adam. And just, different cultures, because now astrology is opening up to a more diversified viewpoints, younger astrologers wanting it to be a more, I guess, equitable, more not so patriarchal type of outlook. So, more, I guess, multiple perspectives. So there is even different types of astrology, like shamanic astrology, where the sun is not given like primary importance. Instead, it's equal importance to the moon, to Mars, Venus, and all of that. And then I think heliocentric astrology is from like, looking from the sun's point of view, and we of course studied from like the Earth's point of view for Vesta astrology. For galactic astrology, we're bringing in, the stars,
Like a
right?
mix
Like
of them.
from the
Yes,
perspective that
yeah,
our star lineage into the
yes,
picture. So
yes.
it's ever expanding, right? Yeah.
Well, before
So
we embark into the mythology, I would like also to say that while in a normal natal chart, we actually very much masculine dominant, except Venus or maybe Moon,
yeah,
that
moon. Yeah.
express the feminine side of a person, the emotional side. And with the asteroid, now we are actually bringing back a more balance with the feminine aspect, with all these goddesses, that to understand the emotional side stories of a person. And I find it just so beautiful, and it gives so much depth into the understanding of a person, instead of just the normal 10 planets that we have in the natal charts.
Yeah. Would you like to say more about that?
Well, I don't know. Like when I read a chart, as I think you are doing the same thing, that we don't necessarily need to go into 1,000 aspects. We in tune into what is important to a client according to their life story, right? So there's no use in giving them 1,000 type of aspects that doesn't connect the dots. And as for myself, like I always try to see like Lilith, Chiron, and okay, the four goddesses, Ceres, Pallas Athena, Juno, and what's the other one?
Vesta.
Vesta. I am Vesta, and I forget about Vesta. Imagine that. And Saturn. Saturn is my obsession. And Iris. Would you like to start with one of them, with the story?
Yeah, I think I'll start with Vesta. She's in my 8th house. She's the goddess of the hearth, right?
Yes.
She is the one that lives among humans, and it's about tending to the fire of the home,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Of that the eternal fire that is kept burning. I think in Roman times there were priestesses associated with Vesta, but they were kept separate, right? They were like really virgin vestals, they call it, right? Like,
Yeah,
because
the Vestal Virgin.
virgin
That,
vestals, right? So
yes.
yeah, the vestal virgins, right? So they were, you know, supposed to be like, you know, kept separate from men and just pure and not have sex and all
Mm,
of
mm,
that.
mm, 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 mm.
And that was their job, is to tend to the fires of the temple, right?
Yeah.
And to keep it burning, for if the fire stop burning, the city will fall. So
Well,
there's this idea,
yes.
or this perspective,
Yeah.
right?
There is actually a Vesta temple in Rome, and in ancient time was also very important. But for instance, for Vesta, from my exoteric background, that I actually understand Vesta from a different point of view. Vesta for me is not only the flame. She is our physical sun, together with Helios and Vesta, our physical sun. And while there is also this theme of the Vestal Virgin, but it's not so much of uh, not having sex for your whole life. And I mean, exoteric, it was, if I don't remember wrong, it was a period of 7 years. Well, during that period is more like a purification of the body, of how to say, pristine the virginity of the soul. And so that is a little bit different to the mythology, but actually as at how you understand Vesta represent in a natal chart.
Yeah, yeah. And I spoke of Vesta from what I've read about, you know, the history of the Vestal virgins, where if they did actually have sex outside of their time in the temple, then they were actually severely punished and put to death. So that is the patriarchal control over the Vestal virgins, right? So yeah, but we are reclaiming Vesta to be more than that, as you say, right?
Yeah.
And to give our own meaning that is empowering to what it represents in our charts. Yeah. So yes, take the power and say, well, this is the story that empowers me, and this is what I would like it to be.
Yes. Well, Vesta, she is sister to Ceres, to Juno, and Pallas Athena. And before we were talking about Ceres and her daughter Persephone. And would you like to go on with it?
Yeah, of course. That's a very, I think, well-known myth, right? Between Ceres was the goddess of agriculture, right? And her daughter was Persephone, right? Another name for Ceres is like Demeter, right? Yeah. So anyway, she made things on earth grow. And when her daughter was seized by Pluto, who was, you know, I guess smitten with Persephone, and he just, you know, just kidnapped her, took her in the ground.
That's
right?
what our gods do. I mean, like, they
kidnapped. Yes, kidnap, right? That was the, you know, they see, they take,
yeah.
You know, that's their mythology, right? And so, of course, Ceres, being a mother, was extremely distraught. She couldn't eat. She couldn't, you know, attend to her duties of making things grow. Everything died, and the humans will make no sacrifice to the gods because, well, there's like starvation in the land and stuff like that. So things come to a head, and Jupiter, and finally, like, you know, had Pluto make a deal to release Persephone, and unfortunately, Persephone had eaten some pomegranate seeds while in the underworld, so that she ate something there, so that bound her to the underworld. But she only ate a few seeds, so for that she is only staying in the underworld for just a few months. And then the rest of the year she returns above ground to another series. So therefore we have this explanation of the growth seasons of plants and the winter season where nothing is growing above ground when Persephone is in the underworld.
Yes.
But then there's also this thing about like we can see Persephone as a victim, but we can also see that her coming into a power is sort of an initiation, a descent into the underworld, an initiation to a greater power, to a different identity, becoming a queen of the underworld, right? A queen, from maiden to queen. And we can see that way as well. Yeah. So Akata, what insights do you have on that?
Well,
want to share?
I think that also explaining the mother nature of series, that the love for their children, and to an extent that when they perceive when their children was when Persephone was being kidnapped and kept underworld, and for her that take out all the joy in her life as a mother. Yeah, that is one aspect of the feminine side. Is what, like, I think now we should also say that the feminine side is not only for female, for woman, that is also for man as well, that inside us there is the part of masculine, the part of feminine. And now I think also with our society going into more this spiritual awakening, also man rediscovering the feminine side of them, and can also express through series and Vesta and whatever come into the importance for them in their life. Their life story.
Well said.
Yes. And since we are talking about the underworld, I want to talk about Setna. It's my obsession. I tell you, it's my obsession, Setna.
Okay.
And I don't really get the origin of the story right. Do you know something about that?
I just know it was an Inuit. She's an Inuit goddess, right? Yeah, that's about something about. There was some drowning involved, so I'm sorry. Tell me about it from your point of view.
Okay, the story that I study and is okay. Well, it's she wasn't a goddess or semi-god, whatever, right? Just a normal human, and with this Inuit origin, and for whatever reason that was, while in some story, have her father took her into the ocean for whatever reason that was, that he was going to drown her in the middle of the ocean. And every time when her father throw her out into the water, she would come back up and try to hang on a rock in the middle of ocean with her hands. And each time her father cut off her fingers, so she would just drown down into the ocean. And every time she came back up, and how that every time she had her fingers to hang on the rock is a myth. And until one last time that she decided to let herself go, and she drowned and go deep into the ocean. And the story goes that when she let herself die, she became the goddess of the of the ocean. She became a goddess that looked after fishermen, for instance, for them when they go out to fish. And her fingers turned into something like seal, fish, like that. And I think the morality of the story is she was trying to come every time when she tried to come back up, she was hanging to the old world, the old paradigm, where she wasn't welcome or wasn't good for her anymore, or being refused. And we, as psyche, we always try to hang on what we know instead of what we don't know, right? So the time that we finally realize that it's the time to let go, and where we have our redemption, we change into something we didn't expect it, and she became a goddess. Yeah, that's how I understand it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and depends on what house you have in your chart that play certain importance. How one,
Yeah.
to
So
a
it must be
certain
really
extent.
strong in your chart, right?
I have it in the seventh house. I mean, really need to have a deep look in how
Yeah.
I view my marriage and all that. Yeah. And what about you?
Is seventh house Aries for you?
I have
Is
Saturn in
seventh
my
house
seventh
Aries?
house. No, Saturn in my seventh house.
Is Aries, right?
In Aries.
Zodiac
Yes,
sign.
yes, exactly.
Oh, so we are having the eclipses. The eclipse node, the nodal eclipse.
Oh,
The nodes are moving to Aries and Libra. So, wow, you can see it's going really activated. Hence your session at this time. Something to yeah, really focus on, I guess.
I
Yeah.
need to sit down. I need to really calm myself down with this change of the noodles. Why? Okay. I know you know a lot about the noodles, the axis.
Well, I don't
So
know that much.
no, a lot more than me for sure. Would you like to go into that? Since we are
Oh,
in
well,
another week, we are going into
the shift,
yeah,
right,
the shift of
of
yes.
the axis, right? The nodal axis. Yeah. So, every like 2.5, 3 years, or some 2 years or something like that. I don't know. It's like our north node and south node, that is the transiting the cosmic weather. They're at certain zodiac signs. So these are calculated points. They are not like you see a planetary. It's a
Yes,
calculated point,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, points. So north node is always 180 degrees across from the south node. So they are polarity, right? So for the past 2 years or so, 18 months, 2 years, I don't know. It's been in like the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. So if you have any planets in Taurus and Scorpio in your chart, and you would look into the position of the houses and see what areas of your life are being shaken up, right? Because that's where there are opportunities for change, and that's where all the eclipses usually happen around the nodes also.
Oh yes.
So that, and eclipses are like, I would say, you're able to make quantum leaps during eclipses. It's like jumping to a different timeline or whatever. There's times of rapid changes. So if you're conscious of those times of rapid changes, you take advantage of them. You can shift a lot tremendously in your life. But also sometimes eclipses, you are not able to predict exactly what's going to happen. You just know that things are shifting. But if you do know that it's in your relationship house, the relationship exists between you and other, then you know that, oh, this is a time to work on like more self-love, or like, I don't know, what makes you feel complete so that you can relate to another in a way that is whole. right? Not from a place of past wounding or past patterns of defensive behavior, but in a way that is really aligned to your true nature.
Well, actually, when we were doing our exchange of reading a few months ago, you were the one told me about Neptune in Scorpio. That actually has characteristic of shape shifting. That just blew my mind.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I'm glad it gives you this,
Yeah.
archetype. I think shapeshifter is an archetype, right? An archetypal energy. And if you can take that on and it helps you, to be more of who you really are, then yeah, just use it.
And it is in my second house, like my creation.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really, really interesting. Like, how each of us give a different type of explanation, even with the same information.
Yes,
with the
yes.
same aspect.
Exactly. Right. Right. Because we also bring our own personal experiences to it, our own lenses, and what we have studied, from different areas of life. And when we do a reading, we try to bring all of that in if it relates, right? So yeah. And also we open and attune to the greater mind as well as what wants to come in to be spoken, to be expressed.
Yeah. Actually, I with this connection, I would like to go into how you are doing also the other stuff like shamanic journey, and you are also a
Journey.
medium. Yes. How does that you can put together into your reading or not? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's I think I'm trying to more combine my astrology reading with more of the other stuff now, because I am on the certification track for OPA, Organization for Professional Astrology. So I'm trying to do all the steps to become, I guess, a professional certified astrologer, right? Yeah, for
Okay.
a particular certification body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But so it's still a learning thing as to how much astrology to bring into an astrology session. For example, I thought sometimes when people sign up for something, I thought, oh, maybe they just want to hear all about their transits and the natal chart, but actually sometimes all they want is to have somebody listen to them and hold sacred space for them, and to help them release stress. And all you have to do is saying, or looking at a chart, well, you're exactly where you need to be. And, just like to reassure them that they have the tools to face whatever's coming up. And you're saying, or you can say, okay, your progress chart shows this, your transit shows this, and this is where you're headed. And this is exactly where you should be. Because sometimes people feel lost. They say, am I really on my right path? And I think my role at the time is to say, yes, look, you are, on your way there. And this is what it can be like. You are giving them a vision of, what they can be, even though they're feeling, I guess, unsure, at a loss, in the liminal, in like this state of liminality where you don't know where you're going. Things are a little bit foggy and stuff like that. So I try to bring them to a calmer state through like something like tapping, emotional freedom technique, tapping on acupressure points, to move the energy of certain emotions when they feel blocked, or they feel anxious, or they have a fear that the rug is going to be pulled from under them. So how do I help regulate their nervous system right? So because when our nervous system is regulated, we are able to be more creative, right? We're able to think more, in a calm manner. And so we're not letting fear drive our decisions, right? So it's important for us to also connect to our bodies, to make our bodies feel safe during any session. Because when we feel safe, we can heal. And so that's part of my role, to help people feel safe in a session. Yeah. I mean, we can all go off and talk about the stars and stuff like that, but here we are living on Earth. And part of living on Earth is, trying to feel safe and heal. That's, yeah. So I'm trying to bring all of that in the session. And sometimes it may be card reading. Also, I pull a card and then we look at the card and I'm like asking them, so what does this mean for you? Because what I'm trying to do is also not putting myself in a position where I am like an authority over them, but let's work. It's like a co-creative session, like let's a dance, like it's a partnership actually. Yeah. So not just partnership between me and them, but with our divine teams, the greater mind. Yeah. And so to bring all these elements in, I have to also allow and not let my ego of like showing how much I know, get in the way of what they really need from me at this time, or need to hear from the universe, and to let myself be a channel for that.
Yeah, I think you say it beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
And yes, and okay, I started right away with Galactic Astrology, and the natal chart is a fundamental for me when I do my reading, that I find that we cannot know the future or the past without knowing who we are actually today, right? And this now moment, this zero moment in terms of our life soul journey is so important. And so like reading a natal chart and to get to know the person's story in this lifetime. And so after that, we are ready to go off whatever directions that we would like to explore. And I do agree that that is part of our sort of mission to bring to together with the person to arrive in a stage that they feel, okay, I am actually now know what happened, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
To move on to the next journey, and we might be able to give them some hints according to, for instance, the North Node is one of the, for me, is one of the main points in seeing like the future direction, how we can move on from here, where we need to point our intention, and then come back to bring back our self nodes to become whole. But at the end of the day, they have to feel it. They
Yeah.
have to, yeah.
Yeah, they have to feel it, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it's not all just thinking up here, but it's also engaging the heart. It's also engaging the whole body. So it's an embodied experience. Yeah. Yeah, it's not an intellectual exercise purely, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I just being in session with the clients, or, it's very, I guess, the most fun I can have. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a very good conversation, and all these myths and mythologies and stories and stuff. Would you like to wrap it up, like your experience, like as an astrologer, how you approach it before we close?
I think people come to us not when they are like Usually not when they are like, you know, good with their lives, but come to us, right? And when they're struggling to find their place in the world, right? In times of transitions, when that's our role as a counselor, counseling astrologer, or as a life coach, is to help them find their power, right? And through this astrology, the tool of astrology, which is really sets of symbols that we play with, that we interpret, we are able to give them the sense of seeing who they truly are and what was their soul's intent in this lifetime, and to help them connect, I guess, with their heart's compass, and to actually reassure them that deep, deep down, they actually know what they're here for, and to reconnect them to that sense, that compass. Yeah. And I do that, you know, through like the astrological symbols, through card reading, cards, it's through a symbolic language that we are able to put words into. And these words have power because they touch people's hearts and they move them, they shift them to a different state. And that is the best thing in the world. Yeah. So thank you very much, Akata, for this opportunity to, you know, speak about our mutual love for astrology.
Yes, I have nothing to add, actually, from what you were saying. Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing to add.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
That is the heart space, that as above, so below. Everything is joined with our heart.
Yeah.
And with that, we can go everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So,
Yeah.
thank you, Tee Ming, and
Thank you.
thank
I'm like
you.
moved to tears myself. I don't know.
Because we do it with so much heart. We are not doing it with just the technical capacity.
Yeah.
We are doing it really trying to bring out the true essence of a person. And also it's important to know that a chart is not a condemnation.
Oh yeah, of course. It's not a domination. No,
Art is
no.
full of possibilities and
Yeah.
full of potential, and I tend to, well, technically it's correct when we say, you know, that is the malefic aspect and you shouldn't do this and this and that. Technically it's all correct, but I'm not so sure as emotionally, psychologically, spiritually should we present it in this way.
I think malefic, the terms malefic and benefic came from the time in history where options were limited and lives were more like, you know, set in place. But right now we are in this very fluid, shifting, transitional stage for the global world, right? This is the cosmic, again, weather at this time. And so let's just cast off the chains of the past. I mean, we can learn from the past, but then let us not be constrained by them. And, you know, really bring in not just an intellectual thing, but also a heart-based, spirit-based kind of feeling into our interpretation so that we can move people, you know, to a better way of seeing themselves in the world we live in.
Yes.
You know, to more possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
and I learned so much from you,
Oh,
many others experts,
yeah.
astrologers.
Yeah, I always learn from every conversation I have with you. And of course, with our fellow astrologers and everybody else, my clients, I learn from my clients.
Yes, we learn from them too. We learn from them a lot. Yes. So
thank you.
yes, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. And until next time, namaste. Namaste.